Hello, everybody. We are live. The Work Canada program is well and truly underway as the 2022 IEC visa pools are officially now open. They didn't invite me to cut the ribbon, but I am very, very pleased to announce to everyone here on YouTube that, the IEC visa pools for 2022 opened yesterday. So you can now enter the IEC Working Holiday Visa Pool in order to be in with a chance of being invited to apply for an IEC Working Holiday Visa in the year 2022. It's some exciting stuff. Some exciting stuff right there. What I'm going to do today is I'm going to talk a little bit about that visa process and also the BUNAC and the UZET Work Canada program, and I'm here to answer any questions if anyone joins the stream to ask questions about either their program or about the program or about getting into the visa pool or really anything to do with that. I guess just to start off with an introduction, my name is Adam. So I'm actually the head of ops for BUNAC, but BUNAC and UZET are work abroad best buddies, and we operate, we work together to bring the Work Canada program to the world. And I actually spent a year in Canada myself. So I did this program and I lived in Vancouver. I started out east in Toronto, Montreal, and I worked my way west, and I absolutely fell in love with the city of Vancouver. And I lived there for a year working on the North Shore at a fantastic little mountain resort called Mount Seymour. So I've been involved with Canada for a long time, and I've done it myself. So hopefully there's not much that I don't know, and I'll be able to help with any questions that that anyone does have if they join the stream today. So just to give you a little bit of an introduction as well to the Canada visa, the IEC Working Holiday Visa. It's a visa that the Canadian government have made available to promote cultural exchange and to encourage young people of the world and to come to Canada to bring their culture, their expertise, their a little bit of themselves to bring to Canada, to contribute to Canada, and then also to kind of help Canadians learn more about the outside world as well. They run a similar program from within Canada to help young Canadians travel the world. So that's where the exchange part of that program comes into it. Every year, the Canadian government, or the part of the Canadian government that operates this program called International Experience Canada, you might hear me refer to them as the IEC throughout this stream. For every country that they deem that is eligible to have young people apply, they allocate a certain number of visas. So, for example, for the UK, for the last couple of years, they've allocated 5,000 visas that could be given out to young people from the UK. For Ireland, for the last couple of years, it's been 10,000, there or thereabouts. And those numbers, it's possible for them to change throughout the season, but every country basically has a different allocation given to it. And then the application process for people in every country that's eligible is that you start out by putting your name into the mix, by putting yourself into the running to receive one of those allocated spots. And the IEC, they call that entering the visa pool. You're putting your name into a pool of candidates from which they might select people out. And once you've been selected out from that pool is when you continue a visa application, and once you're continuing the visa application, that's actually kind of the meat to the visa application. It's where you're getting. So the very first step is entering this visa pool in order to be within a chance of being invited to apply. So the chances of being invited to apply obviously depend on the country that you are applying from and the demand for the visa from that country. So for Ireland, for example, there are 10,000 spots, But generally, every year, there are far less than 10,000 people that actually apply for one of those spots. So the chances are very, very, very high if you enter the Canadian visa pool with an Irish passport from Ireland, that you will be selected to apply for a visa. I don't ever like to use the word guarantee. You do have to be eligible for it, like I said, and I'll go through eligibility in just a moment. But for the UK, so there are less spots, so there are 5,000. And then generally, by the end of the year, there are more than 5,000 people that have applied to enter into that Canadian visa pool. So that means that there is a chance that throughout the year, you might enter the visa pool, especially if you're entering later on in the year, and you don't get invited to apply for the visa by the end of the year. And the IEC, the Canadian government, they run this program almost in a calendar year fashion. So it's opened now in January, and it will close towards the end of the year, probably around November, before reopening again for the following year in 2023. So that's kind of the structure of the program. That's how it works. You'll hear me talking about the visa pool, the IEC, and the visa process. So it's largely the same for every country that's eligible to apply. And the eligibility criteria for the IEC visa, the age limits do vary slightly by country. For example, if you would be applying from the UK with a UK passport, you need to be between the ages of 18 and 30 to enter the regular working holiday visa pool. If you're applying from Ireland, you can be between the ages of 18 and 35. And then every other country has slightly different variations of that. But so you need to check if your age fits the requirement. You need an eligible passport, and really it can be difficult to obtain the visa if you have a criminal history, if you have anything that would show up on a police check. There are some steps you can take if you, for example, have a criminal record from more than 5 years ago. But I would encourage you to kind of find out a little bit more before making an application. You could get in touch with either BNAC or Use It, and we'll be able to kind of talk you through what your options might be in that scenario. But 18 to 30 or 35 in most cases, an eligible passport holder, and also be within the right have the right kind of background for the program. You don't need any specific kind of experience in terms of employment, because the visa itself actually allows you to work anywhere in Canada, doing just about anything throughout your time there, as long as it's legal. It's what's called an open work permit, and for most countries it's up to 24 months, so 2 years. Like I say, you can go anywhere in Canada. You can do just about anything while you're there. So it really is one of the best, I think, working holiday visa options that exists. The other thing to note about this particular program, this particular visa route, is that it's one of the only ones that's pretty much consistently allowed people to travel throughout the last couple of years, which have obviously been very challenging with the pandemic and restrictions that COVID has put in on a lot of places. They have kind of changed some of the regulations as we've gone through the year, but I think coming into 2022, it's gone back to how it has always kind of been in previous years. And I'm really confident that this year is going to be a great year to be getting an IEC visa and getting out to Canada. So I did kind of briefly go through what the kind of application process looks like, but I'd like to go through it in a little bit more detail, as I know there are probably lots of people out there that might be anxious to actually be going through this process. It's worth me also adding that at this point, that if you were in the visa pool in 2021, you shouldn't need to reapply to the visa pool in 2022. And this is different to almost any other year that the IEC has operated. Usually you would need to essentially at the end of the year, your application would get booted out of the pool, and then at the beginning of the next year, you would have to re-enter the pool and start afresh almost. But for this year, the IEC have actually rolled forward all of the people that were in the pool last year that didn't get an invitation to apply. So I would encourage you to log in to your GC Key account from last year if you were in there last year, just to check the application status. But you should still be within a kind of a rolling chance of receiving an invitation to apply if you're in the pool. Obviously, if you don't want to be in the pool anymore, you can withdraw your application if you like. The very worst case scenario of you staying in the pool, if you didn't want to go, is that you'd be invited to apply, and you would just ignore the invite and it would time out and go to somebody else. So it's also not the end of the world. But that's just an important point. Is if you were in the pool last year, you don't need to reapply. But if you were not in the pool last year, so if you've never been in the visa pool before, or if you were in the pool in any other previous year but were not in 2021, you will need to submit a new application for the 2022 IEC visa pool. Please do go ahead and use the kind of chat if you have any questions as we go through today. I'll be happy to kind of pick up questions as I go, really about any part of the program. But yeah, just as I know that some people might watch this back later on, I'm going to kind of try and go through the process as much as I can in a kind of a linear kind of way, so that we can so that you will be confident in entering your name into the visa pool and getting through the application process this year. So you can see on the screen here, there is a kind of a highlight or a summary of the initial application process. And it starts by confirming your eligibility. And there's something called the Come to Canada Questionnaire, which the Canadian government have created, that you need to fill out. Which proves your eligibility for this visa route. Once you've filled that out, it gives you a unique code that you then use to submit your application through the Canadian government account that you set up. And you'll hear me refer to something called a GC Key account a lot, and that just stands for Government of Canada Key account. It's just like an online account where you submit your application. It's fairly easy to submit yourself to the pool. It's free also. And then once you're in the pool, you just need to wait for the Canadian government to send you an invitation to fill out the rest of the application. And actually, they are beginning to invite people from next week. So you need to check back in your account regularly. I recommend at least weekly to see if you get their application. I think I saw a question there about the RO program for Canada, which I'm happy to also answer questions about in this stream. Everything that I've spoken about so far is about the regular working holiday program, which is for absolutely anyone 18 to 30 or 35, depending on the country you're applying from, with an eligible passport. And something really important that I should have mentioned, really, I guess, to begin with, is that you can only do this route once in a lifetime. So it's a once in a lifetime visa, except for in the circumstances where you apply and you have the support of an organization, a recognized organization. And it's a lot like getting visa sponsorship. And so BUNEC have a program where we can allow people to go through this process if they are, for the UK, for example, between the ages of 31 and 35, so what would usually be outside of the age requirement, or if you have used this visa, the working holiday visa, in the past, and you would like to have a second participation. And actually, you actually have to fall into one of those categories. So it's not only does it serve people in those categories, you have to fall into to one of those categories in order to be eligible. to apply for our what's called Work Canada Recognised Organisation program, which is just slightly different to the regular program in that, it comes with sponsorship, and so it allows people who wouldn't usually be eligible to apply. So the question is, can you apply for the RO visa online on your website and pay up front, or only via phone? You're in Vegas on the 16th. That's awesome. I hope you're enjoying Vegas. So the RO program this year, it will be going on sale on February 16th, and it will be online only. So it will be through the website. It will be a bit like Glastonbury. You'll have to keep hitting refresh on the 16th, and we'll make a form available online that you can use to obtain, get a place on the program. And I say it's like Glastonbury because it is extremely competitive every year, and there are very limited spaces on this program. So the RO, or that sponsorship, we've only got so many kind of spots that we're allowed to give out. So they'll be sold online. It's not available right now. You can't sign up on the BUNEC website for the RO program at all right now. It won't be available until February 16th, and it will be on the Work Canada program. If you're signed up to the BUNEC newsletter, our experiences newsletter, will be, although we did send one out yesterday announcing it, the booking link will become available in the future. Or on February 16th. Worth mentioning also at this point, the Young Professionals visa, which I'll get onto towards the end, also will be available on, I think, a week before that, or 2 weeks before that. Test my mind, I think it's like the first week in February. Young Professionals is slightly different, but just if anyone's out there with a question about that. But RO February 16th online. Okay. So question from Alec, can you come in and out of the country with an IEC visa? And the answer to that is yes. So the IEC Working Holiday Visa is a multiple entry visa. So you can leave, you can get the visa, you can go to Canada and travel in and out as many times as you like within those 2 years. Although the 2 years that you're allocated sort of don't pause when you leave. So if you entered on the 1st of January 2022, you'd have until the 1st of January 2024. And if you left for 6 months in that time, you will have just lost 6 months in Canada. But it's up to you. Maybe people have things they need to do, or that's completely fine. So at the risk of things going wrong with the technology here, what I would like to do is just give you guys a little bit of a flavor of what it's like to enter the IEC visa pool. So if you're here to find out about the regular program, you can box everything I just said about the RO to answer that question. That's only going to apply to you if you are between the ages of 31 and 35 from the UK, or you have already used your RO, your working holiday visa in the past, and you're from the UK. So anyone that's from any other eligible country and would like to apply to the open pool, we're going to just run through how easy it is to get yourself in the running to apply for a visa. So as I do this, I'll answer a couple of questions as I bring it up. Can I do any job in Canada? Would I have to switch employers every few months, like the Australian visa, for example? And the answer is you can work for one employer for a full 24 months if you like. There's no restrictions on working in Canada. So there's no need to change employers. And then another question, does the visa start when you enter Canada? It starts, that's correct, when you enter Canada. So I'm going to go through the timeline in just a moment, but as a summary, you apply for the visa, you go through the application process, and when you are granted the permission to enter Canada, or you're granted the visa, you have 12 months to travel to Canada. So you have a window of time in which you need to travel to Canada, and then from the date that you cross the border and say, I would like to come in, please let me in, that's when your visa is activated, and the timeline for the amount of time you have to stay in Canada starts. So for example, the 24 months that you would have to stay there. So that's just an important to know. So you'll see what I was doing there. I was actually just following along what a BUNAC or Iec customer would be doing, going to the information hub, pulling up the instructions, and the very first step on applying for a working holiday visa would be to complete the Come to Canada questionnaire. So there are some instructions for you. I really encourage everyone to follow the instructions that they'll get when they book on, as it really does take you through it step by step. But you will eventually be directed to this Government of Canada webpage, and it's the Come to Canada questionnaire. This is what you use in the first instance to determine that you are eligible for a visa, and it's going to give you a code that you're going to need for the application process. So it's a really important part of the journey. So you can start here just by clicking check your eligibility. All right. I'm just going to answer a couple of questions before I dive into it. So would you say it's very competitive in the UK pool? Do you think most people out of the 5,000 spaces will be picked this year? So it's a great question from the UK pool. It is generally a competitive pool from the UK because more people tend to enter the pool than there are spots. So there'll be more than 5,000 people apply this year. If you are entering the pool from the very beginning of the year, in almost all years, you're within a very good chance of receiving an invitation because they run the invitations every couple of weeks, and so if you're in there earlier on, you'll be in there for more drawings basically. So the best thing you can do is enter early. This year is a bit different because they have rolled forward all the applications that were in the pool from 2021. So in terms of just statistics and numbers, it already looks like there are 4,000 people in the pool for this year for the UK, which means it's probably going to fill up to beyond 5,000 fairly quickly this year. However, I would say there's cause for optimism because those 4,000 people are very likely, a lot of them probably don't want to go anymore, or maybe are stale applications. So I think that it will be competitive in the UK, but it really gets more competitive towards the end of the year. And if you're in there from the start, while there's no guarantee of when you will receive an invitation, I think the chances are a lot higher when you're earlier in the year. So Jess has asked, do you recommend getting a biometrics? And Jess, if you stay tuned, I'm going to go through the application process. And you do not need to collect biometrics or submit your biometrics rather until you are going through the visa application process. You cannot do it in advance. You have to only do that when you are asked for it as part of the application. Okay. So I'm going to run through just really simply filling out the Come to Canada questionnaire. I'm going to put some example information in here, but for everyone applying to enter the IEC Working Holiday Visa pool, you're going to enter the IEC Travel and Work into the what would you like to do in Canada field. For how long are you planning to stay in Canada? You should always enter temporarily more than 6 months. Even if you're someone that thinks that they might only be spending a few months in Canada with this visa, maybe you don't need the whole 24 months, you're still going to select temporarily more than 6 months here. So for this part, you'll select the code that matches your passport. So for a lot of people applying through Use It or BUNAC, if you're from Ireland, it will be IRL. In most cases, for the UK, it would usually be GBR. But look in your passport and put what is right for you. So the country or territory of residence will be where you are currently living. So look around, open your phone, open Google Maps, see where you are in the world, and that's the address that you should give. So if you are a UK passport holder, but you're in another country, then you should put the country that you are in and you would be making your application from. So for me, I'll do this for me. I'm in England. You can just answer this honestly. Do you have any family? My answer is no. And then your date of birth. I'm not gonna give the game away here, guys. I know that you're probably super interested in how old I am, but not actually eligible. So I'll have to make up my my date of birth, which is fine for now, just as an example. And it's going to ask you to confirm that information. And I'm going to say, yep, that's correct. It's asking about my passport. Again, just confirming that information, and that's right. And it's worth noting that, yeah, if you're outside, if you have a UK passport from any other territory of the UK, you may not be eligible. You can contact us and we're happy to check for you. But yeah, the form here would also tell you if you would be eligible. So I'm going to go next. The answer to this question is going to be no. So BUNAC and Use It do work with swap working holidays. And a few minutes ago, I was talking about the RO program. People that were applying to the RO program, here is where they would select yes. But you would have to already have the confirmed support of a of the organisation. You have to have a place on the program before you would do here. But for all regular applications, the answer here is no. Will has asked, I'm a qualified electrician by trade. Would I be able to apply to any other type of visa? Yes, potentially. You may be eligible for a young professionals visa, but you would have to have an employer offering you a job in Canada. So if that's not the case, I'll be honest, I'm not aware, I'm not kind of clued up on the other sort of visa routes into Canada. I know that there are ways to be sponsored by employers to work in Canada for specific trades. But this visa, I would say, gives you the most flexibility if you are eligible for it. You would be able to work as an electrician in Canada. Yeah, I would say this visa would be a good option for you. But there may be other routes for you as an electrician. Right, so what's my country or territory of permanent residence? So I mentioned in the beginning the country that I was currently living in, or just where I was applying from. So if that's your permanent residence, you would select that country. But if that was only your temporary residence, you were only there for I don't know, you were studying there or something, permanent residence would be where your home address is. So for the working holiday visa, the answer to this question should be no. So do you have a letter of signed offer of employment or internship? Again, for the working holiday visa, the answer should be no. Even if you are applying to this for the visa and you know where you're going to work, or you do have an offer, if you answer yes to this question, it's going to direct you to a different type of visa. So you want to answer no in order to get to the working holiday visa. So are you registered at a college or university in your home country? I mean, you can answer appropriately, but you can answer no, it doesn't make any difference. Go next. Hooray! At least it thinks that I am eligible to apply under the working holiday category. So that was the Come to Canada questionnaire. There's no sorcery there. It's a fairly straightforward eligibility test. So I'm going to click continue, and based on the answers that I've given and based on it thinking that I am eligible, it's given me this code. Now, I can't stress enough the importance of keeping this code safe, of writing it down, because if you lose this code, you will, I mean, it's not the end of the world. You would have to do the Come to Canada questionnaire all over again and get a new code that, again, backs up your eligibility. So, yeah, copy this into some notes somewhere. I'm gonna have another screen. I'm gonna keep mine safe in. So that it's yeah, to hand. But yeah, so many times people will do this form, they'll just take it for granted, or they'll copy it but not paste it, or not write it down, but take a picture of it, copy and paste it, whatever you need to do, take a screenshot, because it's really important, you're going to need it. So now is where you will start the application to actually submit your profile into the Work Canada, the International Experience Canada Working Holiday Visa pool. So you now need to create a Government of Canada account as your next step. You might already have one if you've applied in a previous year. I mentioned earlier on, if you were in the pool in 2021, you don't need to reapply, but you can log in and check your status. But if you were in the pool in any previous year and you have an active GC key, you can just log into it. But I'm going to go through how to register to get a key. And I'm going to start off by saying the Canadian government website technical infrastructure is notoriously buggy. Sorry, Canada, if you're listening, but it is. I tell you all the time, so it shouldn't be a surprise. But it's buggy and annoying. So I'm going to go through it. There's a risk that it's going to go wrong. But if it does, that will be good, because then I can show you an example of how buggy it can be. Sometimes when you go to sign in, it just won't let you. But we have some solutions we can help with for that. So I'm going to start, and I started by clicking the wrong thing, but I'm going to go on sign up, and I'm going to go to I accept the terms and conditions of use. Obviously read through them. I've read them about 100 times. Then I'm going to create a username that's going to be unique to me. So I'm going to do Iec Visa 111. I'm going to create a password one. And it has to meet, so it has to be between 8 and 16 characters, contain at least one uppercase letter, one lowercase letter, one digit, and must not contain 3 or more consecutive characters. So I'm just going to put in here this is where I'm going to see, this is classic. I didn't do it right. Sorry, guys. So it's a little bit temperamental. So make sure you write down all these passwords, save them that you're using, because yeah, you're going to need them later on. And if you forget them, it's a real pain. There's not a very easy way to recover that information. So keep a document open or an email open in another alongside this. Everything you put into this application, write down on that document or email, and email it to yourself. And you'll have a record of it. Emailing itself's great because it's kind of with you wherever you are. But yeah, just so important you keep a record of everything that you put in here. Good old John, memorable person. My memorable date is going to be 2022 January, which is right today, which day I showed how to enter the pool. So all just little bits of information that it's just nuts and bolts you need to go through, but make sure you keep a note of all of it, because you will need that stuff every single time you log into your GC Key account. So just bear that in mind. It's not just in case to recover your account. Every time you log in, you need that information. So make sure you keep it to hand. So now I'm going to enter my information. I'm just going to put some example information in here. I'm going to put a please. All right, more security questions. So you need to think up some questions and put them in here. So who am I? John. Who are you? You, my friends, are awesome. What do I like? I'm gonna say I like dogs. Where do I like? It's gonna have to be Canada. All right. Oh, and it's saying it's a problem because my question must contain at least 10 characters. This is a great example of where things can, who am I for this application? For you put out there. Do I like more than anything? Eat poutine. Where do I like to eat poutine? Canada. All right, let's give it another go. Hooray! All right, I now have a GC key account. I'm John Jones, and this is my home screen in my account. So your name should be here. You shouldn't have copied any of the information I gave. You should have your own information. And this is where you're going to come. It's going to become a very familiar site throughout your application, as it's where you are going to come back to reference your application status as it moves through. So from here, you're going to click on Apply to come to Canada. And this is where that very special code that I mentioned you should save is going to be needed. So you should come here, put that code in, and click Continue. And from here, you're going to see again that you're eligible for the working holiday category. So I had a question from Tanny. She's just said, I've made a GC key account, but then it won't take me to the page where I can enter the rest of my information. I've done my recovery questions, but then can't proceed to the page you're on now. Do you know how I could access it? So this relates to what I think probably, Tanny, and correct me if I'm wrong, that what I was saying just before about how the website can be really buggy, especially if you're returning to the page, if you go away from the page and come back to it. What you're probably experiencing, Tanny, when you are getting past those terms and conditions is you're getting to a page where it says, would you like your information in English or French? And it's a nice, colourful page, but then it takes you back to the Government of Canada, like basically homepage. You have to then try and log in again. You log in again, and it just takes you back round in a loop. That will happen to you all at some point, so be prepared for it. The only things that you can do, however, to fix it, there's no magic bullet. You could try opening an incognito browser, or putting your browser in private browsing mode. So for Chrome, you would use incognito window here. You could try deleting out your cookies or your cache from your browser. You could try accessing or logging in from another browser. You could try logging in. I'm giving you lots of solutions because I can't guarantee that any one of them will work, but maybe one of these will. You can try a different device. You can try logging in using a different device, or you can try logging in from a different internet connection. All these things can have an influence. If none of that works, the only other thing to do is actually wait. And sometimes if you wait a day and you go back tomorrow, for example, it will work. Yeah, so the most successful things generally are the incognito or the private browsing though. So I would give that a try first. And then if you're on the Work Canada program with BUNAC or use it, contact us if none of those things work, and we'll try and help you the best we can. But I'm going to continue with my application for right now. So I'm going to enter myself to the pool. So I'm going to click Continue, the Working Holiday category, and it's going to show me my e-service page. So this e-service page is just where it's going to collect some basic information about you, and it's got these 4 forms, and you need to complete all of these forms, so have them marked as complete. Now, it's really important that you put everything as per your passport in this section, and that you get it exactly correct, because once you've submitted this, it will be pulled forward to your full visa application when you, or hopefully you go on and get to make, and you can't edit it in the future. Okay, so for example, your names, it should be exactly, your last names exactly as shown in your passport. All right, so if in my passport I was John James Jones, all the J's, I would put Jones in here was my last name, and then if my first names were John James, I would put John James here. All right, not just John. If you are Jonathan James, you should put Jonathan James. It must match. If it doesn't match your passport later on, it can be a real pain and could affect your chances of being able to continue with the visa application. So it's really important you get this exactly right. So your date of birth, so you'll note this is also uneditable. That's because this is what you entered into the Come to Canada questionnaire, and it's what your eligibility is based on. Okay, so again, important you get that right. If it wasn't right at this stage, you would need to come out, cancel, and do the Come to Canada questionnaire again, log into a GC Key account and apply with a new code to get into the visa pool. All right, so answer this question as pertains to your passport as well. So where were you born? I'm going to do this for me, but you do it for you. For example, if it was Ireland, put Ireland. Put the town, what's in as it is in your passport, the city or town of birth. Note that you might have been born in a city or town which is not the one listed in your passport. Your passport might be like the kind of larger town, and you might consider yourself to have been born, like if from London, for example, your passport might say London, but you might consider yourself to have been born in Wandsworth or like a certain borough of London. It's fine if you consider that, but you should put what's in your passport for here. Okay, so it will be London, for example. Again, I'm going to do it for me, but you put again what matches your passport. So that would match John's passport, I think. So my marital status, I'm going to put in here. All right, again, per your passport, make sure that this matches your passport. And actually, this brings us to a really important point, which your passport, you need to make sure your passport is a couple of things. Number one, in good condition. It's not been through the wash or anything like that. Number two, you need to make sure that the passport is going to be valid for the whole time that you want to be in Canada. Now, if you lost your passport after this, or you applied and you didn't realize that your passport was going to expire while you were in Canada, it is possible to apply for another passport later in the application process. However, my advice would be right now, if you know that you will need a new passport, you should apply for it right now, and you should apply with the new passport. As it's the beginning of the year and time is on our side, my recommendation is get the new passport now and start with that new passport and keep that new passport all the way through the journey. It's just easier for you. It just takes out any chance of kind of any issues or anything going wrong throughout that journey. So just keep that in mind. Check your passport. Again, just make sure any identity fraudsters out there, I'm afraid this isn't my real passport number. So issue date, I'm going to put in here, and expiry date. Most passports are valid for 10 years. So again, this is all grayed out because it's what I put in the Come to Canada questionnaire, and it's what my eligibility being approved has been based on. So if this is not correct, you would need to go out and start again. So if you like, you can click validate, and it's going to tell you that all the information is correct. And when you click save and exit, you're going to go back to your e-service page, and you'll see that that is now complete. So again, contact information. It's literally just selecting the language that you want your information in, putting an email address in. So I'm going to put Canada. This is not an active email address. Please don't email it. Okay, that's complete. Work and education details, that's complete for now. You will have to provide more information on that when you're actually filling out the full visa application, but we'll come back to that at another time. So you may be eligible for the working holiday category. Would you like to be added to the pool of candidates for this category? If you select no, you will not be entered into the pool of candidates for this category, and you will not be invited to apply. It is your responsibility to make sure you meet all the eligibility requirements, including not having surpassed the number of participations allowed under the mobility arrangement. So that would mean, as I said earlier, if you've already done this, if you've already had a port of entry letter or a visa, a working holiday visa issued to you, even if you haven't used it, you're not allowed to apply again for this visa category. There are some exceptions if you had applied before 2015. You may be able to apply for a further 12-month application, but otherwise, yeah, you can't do this more than once. So likelihood is you're going to want to select yes, because you do want to be considered this visa as long as you have confirmed you're eligible. So I'm going to click save and exit. So this is my e-service form complete. I'm going to click continue. And just while this is loading, I had a question from NNN. I applied in November 2021, and when I log into my account, it says that the application is still submitted. Do I need to make another application, or will the previous one carry through? So yeah, thanks for tuning in. I mentioned at the beginning of today's stream as well that for the first year ever in the history of the IC, they have rolled the applications from 2021 forward to 2022. So if you were in the pool in 2021, you are still in the pool for 2022, and you are still within the running of receiving an ITA. I do encourage everyone to log into their GC Key account, as Triple N has done, to make sure that it says that you are still a candidate and that you know, for any reason you haven't been removed from the pool. But if it says that you are still there, then you are in the pool, and you are within a chance of running. If for any reason you would prefer to withdraw your application and then resubmit it, knock yourself out. You can totally do that. It doesn't hold any bearing, doesn't make any effect on your chances of being withdrawn. If you want to withdraw your application, and I'll show you how to do that in just a second. Now this is lots of, you really do need to read through all of this information. I know it's a lot of text, but it's important that you understand it, and you're going to need to sign. Say you agree to sign the information as matches your application. And don't worry, Canada, if you're watching, I'm going to withdraw this application afterwards, so it's not clogging up your system. I'm sorry. So you'll see, I agree, and then the final thing you need to do is you need to press transmit. Congratulations, you have successfully submitted your application or profile. So John Jones is now officially in the IEC working holiday visa pool, and this is how we can double check that. On my account, I can view the application status. You can see International Experience Canada is the type. I have my name here. I have the date that I've submitted, the status as submitted. Don't currently have any messages, although I will have shortly. If I had not finished this application, it would have been sitting in this column, and I would have been able to come back and continue it. But as I have submitted it, it's up here in the applications that I have submitted. I can check my full application status here, and I can, I'm going to show you that in just a second, but if you're logging in from when you entered in 2021, yours will look very similar to this. And when you click check full application status, it's going to look like this to begin with, but shortly, very, very shortly, and it doesn't take that long, it will update, and there's going to be a big message here saying that you are a candidate in the pool. It's going to give you a message, and all messages that sort of all correspondence that comes from the IEC, the Government of Canada, about your application is going to be listed here in the messages section. And they're going to be PDF letters. The very first one you're going to get is going to say, you are a candidate in the pool, congratulations. It's the next one that you're most interested in, which says, we have selected you to make an application and continue an application for a visa for Canada. So you'll see the first one. Sometimes people see that first one and they think, yeah, it's the ITA, it's the invitation to apply for the visa. They get really excited, they open up, and it's just to say that they're in the pool. You may also get an email notification from the Government of Canada that says your application status has been updated. In the first one is usually just to say that this page has been updated, to say that you are in the pool, because like this, it might not show that right away, but what it will show is that yeah, on your home page that you sorry, let's go back to my account here. It will show that you have there we go. You've been submitted. So it's actually just done that for me. Yep. So my application status has been updated. So I can see here your profile is pending. We'll send you a message when your profile is in the system. Well, there you go. That's a very clear explanation of what's going on. You've got all your relevant confirmation numbers and things in here. And there's going to be a message here. It's usually within minutes, sometimes hours, sometimes a day or two. And it will say you are now a candidate in the pool. So that's it. That's the first stage to the application process. I'm going to withdraw my profile because I don't want to take up one of these valuable spaces with John Jones. So if you're someone that did want to withdraw your profile for any reason, you simply just click withdraw profile. And what would you like to do today? And then it's just an explanation that you'll be coming out of the pool. You won't be a candidate. I'm just going to click continue because it says your profile has been successfully withdrawn. Continue. And then this will update. It says this right now, but it will update to say that it's been withdrawn. So that is the very first stages of the application process to get into the pool. I'm going to go back to the deck, and I'm just going to talk through what the rest of the program and the process will look like. You'll need to check back on that account regularly. I recommend at least weekly. And the reason for that is that there is a timeline now at play. If you receive an invitation to apply, you'll only have 10 days to start your full visa application. If you don't start your full visa application within those 10 days, your invitation will expire and you will have lost out on the chance. Not forever, you'll be able to receive another invitation in the future, but you'll have to kind of start the process again to be within a chance of receiving an invitation at a later date. So it's really important you keep checking, and especially, well, there are two things here, considerations. For people from the UK, you don't know when you'll be invited, so you need to check regularly to see. For people from Ireland, for example, as it's almost a certainty that you will be invited, it's more just frustrating than anything to kind of miss out on those 10 days and then have to do it all over again. So yeah, really important you do keep checking. Let us know at PUNAC or use it once you have received your invitation to apply. On our resource hub, there's a really simple form you fill out. As soon as you submit that form, you are sent the instructions, the step-by-step instructions for the second stage visa application, everything you're going to need to do. Once you have started that application, okay, so you have 10 days to start it. Once you have started it, you have 20 days to complete it. And in your invitation to apply, or rather, once you start the application, you will be sent a letter with these deadlines. Okay. Again, that 20-day deadline is equally as important. If you miss that 20-day deadline, you will not be able to continue. You'll have to start again, and you'll have to get an invitation to apply all over again in order to get a visa. So start the application within 10 days of the invitation, finish the application. All right, so that means pay the Canadian government visa fee, which comes at the end of the application, and within 20 days. All right, so once you have completed the application within those 20 days, there's another timeline which can be subject to change based on the world of COVID, but in most instances, after that submission, you would then have 30 days to submit biometric information at what's called a Canadian Visa Application Centre. There's usually only about one in every country. So in the UK, it's in London. In Ireland, it's in Dublin. And it's a very quick appointment. You go along, give them your fingerprints, they take a picture, and that's more or less it. But you have to do that within the 30 days after the submission of your application. If you've done that in the past for a previous Canadian visa application, you might not have to do it. But anyone that does need to do it will be sent a letter on their GC Key account. It's called the Biometrics Information Letter. They love a 3-letter acronym at the Canadian government, the bill. Biometric Information Letter, which will give you the deadline and all the information you need on where to go and how to submit your biometrics. After the biometrics appointment, you then are waiting again to receive another PDF letter on your account, which is called the Port of Entry letter, or sometimes it's just called the Introduction letter, or letter of introduction. Sometimes it's just called the confirmation letter. I'd like to just switch it up and keep us on our toes. But that, for all intents and purposes, is the visa. It's what you'll use to travel to Canada with. You'll actually exchange it at the Canadian border with a border officer, and they will give you the actual visa as it is printed on special paper. But the letter is what you need. So as soon as you get it, download it, email it to yourself, keep it safe, email it to a family member or a trusted friend so that you're always going to have access to it as well. It's some great advice. So that's the kind of what's to come later on. But I would say just focus on that first half to begin with. Get yourself in the pool, wait until you get an invitation to apply, and then worry about what's to come afterwards. When you're completing your application, there are some documents that you'll need. So you do need to provide a police check for every country that you've spent 6 consecutive months or longer in since the age of 18. So that might be where you live, plus if you've done a working holiday somewhere else, for example. You could look into the application process, but I never recommend applying for those police checks until you have an invitation to apply in your hand. Even if you're from Ireland, for example, because on the off chance there's any reason that you need to wait, you don't want to have to have paid out for any police checks, and then that have not been needed. So I would say wait for your invitation, then apply for the police checks. But you can, like I say, research. You can look into it. You also need to provide some really simple things like a passport photo, a copy of a CV, which a very simple formatted CV is fine. Our instructions have an example of that. You'll also need to provide a copy of your passport details page as well. So your passport, there's very clear instructions for these documents. They all should be fairly straightforward for you to be able to provide. There is a part of the application that asks if you're ever planning to work with children, or if you sort of directly with children as a teacher, if you're working, for example, in the healthcare field. If the answer to that question is yes in your visa application, it could be, based on your answer, it could be that they ask you to provide a medical check. Again, you shouldn't get that until you have an invitation to apply. It's a very specific medical check you'd need to obtain. They give you instructions on exactly, and so do we, on what that medical check is. And you would need to provide it with the application. If you don't plan to work directly with children, such as being a teacher, or you are not planning to work in healthcare, or you don't meet the kind of criteria that requires a medical check, it simply won't be requested of you. So I would say 90% of our applications come from participants on our program don't require a medical based on what they're going to be doing in Canada. And then the only other thing to mention here is that if, for the Ultimate Jobs program, once you have an invitation to apply for a visa is when you can start the process of applying with the employers that we have on record with the program. So we advertise those, generally have summer and winter start dates. So the summer interviews will be beginning fairly soon for our employers. And then winter, usually the interviews happen around August for start dates around November. Some can be earlier, some can be later, but it's only when you have the ITA that you can really move through that process, because the employers want to make sure that you're going to be able to actually make it out to Canada. And before you have an ITA, or rather having the ITA is really enough certainty, I think, that we can do it, that you'll be able to get out there. But once you have your port of entry letter and maybe have your job through the Ultimate program all sorted, you'll then just be ready to arrange your travel to Canada, figure out when you're going to arrive. You'll let us know. We'll hook you up with our team on the ground in Canada. Our team, our partner organization in Canada is called Swap Working Holidays. They're based in Toronto and Vancouver. You're going to have a couple of nights of welcome accommodation in the hostels that we work with there, which are truly awesome. It's where I met actually some of my very best friends during my time in Canada. And you can extend, you get 2 nights included with the program, but you can extend that if you want. And you'll have an orientation from the team on the ground. They'll make sure that you have everything set up to live your new Canadian life. So anyway, the other thing to mention is about insurance. You do need to make sure you have insurance coverage for your whole time in Canada. In fact, when you cross the border, you'll need to prove that you have insurance, and you'll only be issued a visa for as long as you can prove you have valid insurance. So that's just another cost to consider, but not until really you're getting closer to heading out to Canada, or at least booking flights. I mentioned about accommodation there. You'll have your arrival accommodation. Ongoing accommodation, though, after that, if you're working with an Ultimate employer, a lot of the employers provide housing, but there's Swap Working Holidays, who I mentioned that we work with, based in Toronto and Vancouver, can also help and guide you in finding, for example, a shared accommodation. You can extend to stay in the hostels for a little bit longer. But yeah, otherwise, the only other things to consider are just gathering what you would need to enter Canada, so that insurance. If there are things like PCR tests that you're going to need to consider at the time that you travel, I'm not going to say anything right now what that is, because it's going to be different, very likely based on what you do, but it could be a PCR test showing you're negative or positive in the last 180 days, not in the last 14 days for COVID. Vaccination proof is probably going to be required to enter. So it's just weighing all those things up. But once all that's done, you will be there. You'll be living the Canadian dream, as it were. You'll be chowing down on poutine every lunchtime. If you don't know what poutine is, it's delicious. That's more or less all you need to know. Chips with gravy and cheese. I mean, 3 great ingredients. But that's it. I really hope this has been helpful. Thank you for the questions as we've gone through. I'm going to come back just because today is the day it's open, and I know there's going to be lots of questions. I'm going to be back online on here on YouTube at 5 p.m. today. I'm going to run through the information again. I'm going to be here for questions if anyone has them. So that does bring us to the end for today. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thanks for watching if you're watching this back, and we'll see you soon. Thanks everyone.